Welcome to News for Sure. Today we actually going to look at the matter of a 16-year-old Kwazi who was gunned down by the police around 2010. A 16-year-old boy was actually gunned down by the police in 2010 while sleeping in the couch. Let's just play this clip.
Investigating political killings could be true. That's according to an independent violence observer in KwaZulu-Natal. For more on that issue, we're joined by Mary de Haas via Skype. Good afternoon, Mary. Thank you for joining us. So you have now corroborated the police minister's claims of targeted hits against the task team investigating political killings in the province. What evidence do you have?
No, I haven't corroborated. I said it could be true. I mean, the minister would be in a better position than I am to know. But I do know that police officers, police members who sometimes are investigating serious cases do get killed. And that happened several weeks back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay. That happened several weeks back. Hello?
Go on, Mary, we can hear you.
Okay. A policeman in Transcorp who was investigating a dangerous man who's been narrowly escaped going to prison for taxi and other political hits was killed, and when he died, he made an affidavit, which the investigating officer in the case now has, that he tried to arrest this man and he province. Now, if that can happen, you don't know if he's a finish, do you? So I don't have the information about what the minister is claiming about this particular team, but I also know that this management in this doesn't give members, there are members with in dangerous circumstances, dealing
Wow, that sound was a bit terrible, but good day. But the gist of it was also I wanted to remind you to Ukoko Merida has basically where at some point that was 6 years ago, he actually did say that even the police are actually in danger by when they're investigating such criminal matters. And then she also went on and said that the danger basically doesn't necessarily come from within the criminals. Also, it is sometimes orchestrated inside the police officers, basically. Now, what we want us to deal with is we are looking at the commission, which is the Nkabinde inquiry. And in the Nkabinde inquiry, there's certain evidence that is coming through. And we saw the letter of complaint that that Merida has wrote to Shamila Batoy, that how that was dealt with and how that was ignored. This will actually just form in terms of my analysis around that as an analyst, it is fair to be okay, to be sometimes to be far out and also to be far in, because I'm seeing that Merida has at some point his information can be used positively. And yes, there's certain things that when you're on the other side that you can view that negatively on those regards. So now I want us to pay attention because we are going to be focusing to Kwazi Ndlovu, the story of Kwazi Ndlovu, the story of the 16-year-old boy. This is information that has come out from the inquiry. Let's play.
So is it the evidence of the general that Mr. Padiak is possible the sender of the rogue section at IDEC?
Sorry, guys.
why have you not disclosed that there was a complaint of suppression of evidence against the prosecutor who prosecuted this case?
It wasn't, I didn't mean to withhold evidence. It's just something that I didn't think about. It's not non-disclosure. I've got nothing to hide with that.
Yes. The problem with that statement is that yesterday you were going on about justice for victims. You've repeatedly mentioned that the only case that was prosecuted resulted in an acquittal. Any sensible person would have thought that a complete picture would oblige you to disclose that there was a complaint of suppression of evidence against the NPA's prosecutor.
I can't recall what exactly the complaint was, but I didn't intend to withhold anything or not disclose it for any reason.
That's why I'm asking you for the reason why this was not brought to the attention of the panel. You say it was not your intention to withhold it, but as a fact, you never told the panel. If you read your statement under oath, your statement simply blithely says the one case that was prosecuted resulted in an acquittal, never actually engages with the complaint that came afterwards.
The matter was dealt with. I didn't intend to withhold it, any evidence. It just didn't occur to me at the time that it would be relevant in this context.
You say that it's because you did not think it was relevant.
So, the story of Kwazi is a story that we see. It is detailed in the report. The report appears to be coming from who? From Mary de Haas, who's got a piece where they're actually doing the KZN monitoring, the violence monitor in KZN. Now, let me share this with you guys so that we can see, because I believe that from News for Sure, we need to analyze from the actual data source itself. Now, what we're seeing here, we are seeing that this as the article dated March 2023, violence monitoring. It goes with the killing of Kwazi Ndlovu is unbearable, long waiting justice drawn to the end. This is a story of Warrant Officer Padayachi. This information, we've actually had it in the commission, in the inquiry that is investigating fitness to hold office for Advocate Chauke. But this information now has turned a focus to the actual DPP, to Advocate Shamila Batoy, that in fact she's the one who's incompetent. She's the one that is defeating the ends of justice. She's the one that is has a lot of misconduct accusation, where information that she's not taken action against, and then also bring a seasoned advocate, which is Advocate Chauke, against non-existent charges. So what we had there, this is the source, because you may have heard Advocate Nugaitobe essay talking about about the story of Kwazi Ndlovu. So this is what you guys need to come through. You need to look at this report. This report actually narrates what happened in the incident in 2010. Then which was the task team that was involved, and the story that actually took place around this. But then now, in this story, that what involves now the DPP is the story of Advocate Sankar, who's the prosecutor, that there's allegation that he eroded justice, he he hidden information from the court. There's a story that the same prosecutor did not call the defense, the state witness on ballistic, which were disproving the version of the warrant officer that the young boy was carrying a firearm, basically when he was shot. Then the expert witnesses even went as far as saying that the evidence there, the gun that appears to have been found in the crime scene, it was planted. Why we focusing on the tampering of the crime scene? Because you know for sure that we are also following the Senzo case, where these allegations of planting of firearms remains the center of the case, and then also the NPA advocates also remains the center of the case, where every day the advocate Balo and Sibande, who are the prosecutors on the case, they keep on changing the ball post. They introducing new evidence. How that case is being run is a disgrace, basically, in that court. And then also we see that the judge is also not being hard on them. It's also being lenient to their state. Hence, we saying that the judge now end up being we're seeing the judge as being very biased towards the state. But what is important that is coming out here, it's coming out that the NPA, so it involves both the KZN, DPP, as well as the prosecutor that was handling the case, as well as the National Director of Prosecution. This is just an example of how our National Director of Prosecution have ignored information. I want us to pay attention to this. It says the application to appeal the decision was handed over to Deputy Director. It was turned down. The DPP office, national and provincial, continue to argue for the formal inquest. We've heard that in when excuse me, when Advocate Ngobai Toby was actually referring to these things. Now, then this is now the evidence that has come in rebutting what the DPP was saying. So all of this evidence that has come out, it did not do justice to the NPA. But then what it does, it just actually exposed how NPA has went all out to evade justice, or to deny justice for the Ndlovu family. Now, this is even when the witness who was part of the team says, I know I've witnessed a lot of crimes that have taken place. And even the technical evidence from the expert also says that there is a crime that was taking place now. What does the NPA head tells us? She only tells us that she didn't read the docket. That's what she tells us. She tells us that she's going to look into it. That's what she tells us. She tells us that, you know what, these issues, they come, they go. She's disappointed that these people have actually not dealt with the issues in this thing. But all what she's saying, it means nothing now. It means nothing now, because she's the one that has brought us to a situation where NPA ethics are being questioned. He says that Advocate Chauke is unethical. He does not deserve to be a warrant officer. That's what he said. It does not deserve to be a prosecutor. Now, let's look at the headlines, what they're saying. Now, if we click here on the Cape Argus, it says, look at the headline, family is not happy with the state ignoring the important evidence. This is 2016. I'll tell you, even the magistrate that was responsible in this regard, that magistrate now is going to become a head of the court where in Ndlovu, basically. But now, when you see these things, they're saying the family is not happy with this. Cape Agas, it says SAPS Cato Manor squad trial closed. Here's the warrant officer per the arch. Basically. Now, if we click here on the Cape August, they have people who are protesting outside. Now, let's look at the state witness. The state last witness was the teen's mother, Ndlovu, who was cross-examined by Padayachi's defense counsel, which was Carl van der Merwe. In her evidence in chief, Ndlovu identified the cause by pointing him out in court that says is the officer who was at her home at the day of the murder and blocking my lounge door. She testified that the day was waiting for paramedics when her son was killed. She asked the officer on the scene why they killed her son. You understand? This is the information that we getting from the commission. I will play the evidence of the ballistic expert that was not shown, that those people were not called in the actual to testify in this matter. Now, what is important is that these complaints were actually brought to the NPA, and NPA said nothing. NPA did nothing about this. Now, we are now then expected, to trust a director of prosecution in this matter. We are expected to trust NPA in this matter now, that she is the one that is supposed to be telling us that that Advocate Chauke is not fit to hold office. I am seeing the inverse of that. I'm seeing the things other way around, that, you know what, she's the one that is now not fit to hold office. That's the corruption that is being exposed. Let's see what the advocate Waitobe SC actually exposed when he was questioning the NPA head. Let's listen.
Experience, who went through these dockets, came to the conclusion that at least in the direct, yes. Now, this is part and parcel of the problem. You know, you've brought in a senior director of public prosecutions of extensive experience who went through these dockets, came to the conclusion that at least in the Kwazi Ndlovu case, there should have been a prosecution. Having gone through these dockets, and you've said there was no evidence, there was no evidence, there was no evidence. You've singled this one out. You've said they were withdrawn. We tried to prosecute, there was an acquittal. We go through this on a cursory basis. The three most important witnesses, Mr. Stale, Dr. Naidu, Captain Mangena, are not called. The parents come to you and they say evidence has been suppressed. No independent investigation. I think that on that summary, it is fair to conclude that you have been complicit in denying the parents of Kwazi Ndlovu justice. You know, you've brought
160. Yes.
At paragraph, the third paragraph, where you are talking about the consultation of Advocate Sankar with Mr. Stale and Dr. Naidu.
I see that.
Yes. Now, this is why we've had to find their report in order to understand what did they conclude in their report, to see whether the conclusions you made were fair conclusions or unfair conclusions. We came to the conclusions that not only were they unfair, they were also misleading.
These conclusions were, I can only assume, I don't have the report now, but that is the way the process works, is the DPP would have provided a report, and this would have been drafted on the basis of that report. But I have to emphasize, on the basis of what has emerged today, I will have to look into this matter further. There seems to be something that was not right.
Yes. Now, this is part and parcel of the problem. You know, you've brought in a senior director of public prosecutions of extensive experience who went through these dockets, came to the conclusion that at least in the Kwazi Ndlovu case, there should have been a prosecution. Having gone through these dockets, and you've said there was no evidence, there was no evidence, there was no evidence. You've singled this one out. You've said they were withdrawn. We tried to prosecute, there was an acquittal. We go through this on a cursory basis. The three most important witnesses, Mr. Stale, Dr. Naidu, Captain Mangena, are not called. The parents come to you and they say evidence has been suppressed. No independent investigation. I think that on that summary, it is fair to conclude that you have been complicit in denying the parents of Kwazi Ndlovu justice.
If I may comment on that,
Yes.
That is certainly not a conclusion that is justified in these circumstances. As I explained, firstly, to deal with the issue of no evidence that I have mentioned, I thought I made it quite clear that it was no evidence relating to the racketeering charges. And that is why all of the dockets were sent to the DPP to look into each one of them, to see if there was evidence to charge in respect of each of the dockets. This particular case, I was not aware of these reports of the ballistics experts. Having been made aware of them today, I will certainly take steps to look into this matter, because it's on the basis of what has been read out now, it appears that these witnesses should have been called for the trial, at the trial.
No, you see, a problem, Advocate Batoy, it doesn't help for you to talk about racketeering, because this was one of the predicate offenses. So it was part of racketeering.
It does help to talk about racketeering, because racketeering has very specific elements that you need evidence to prove. And the conclusion that they came to is that there was no evidence to support the elements of the racketeering charges. And that is why I again emphasize the dockets were sent back for the DPP to consider each one of them, to decide whether charges should be brought in respect of any charges in those dockets.
No, I think we are not talking about the same thing. I am simply putting to you that this is one of the predicate offenses in the racketeering charge. Is that correct or not?
This would have been one of the predicate
Yes.
offenses in the racketeering charges, but you need two predicate offenses to satisfy that element for racketeering.
No, don't worry, we will go through all of them. But I'm simply putting to you that this would have been necessary for the racketeering charge because it is one of the predicate offenses.
It would have been one of the predicate offenses, that's correct.
Yes. Now, you now say, well, I'm going to investigate this matter further, and I will be taking action because I can see that witnesses that should have been called were not called. The problem with all of that, it seems to me to be regret after the event that you failed to do your job diligently at the time.
That is not correct. I relied on a DPP's report. I was not aware of these documents and reports. Now that I am aware of it, I'm not going to ignore it.
Yes.
Now, guys, I think it's very important that we look at these things and we see the patterns, because what is happening within the South African justice system is that whatever something had happened in the past and they were able to get away with it, they use, as I think they are good project managers, they use lessons learned, something that, they use how to get away with a matter or something like that. Strictly speaking, yes, they keep on those things. Now, it appears as if now Padayachi and the Kadomena team were in a spree when they were analyzing people and then they plant evidence. Now, that process, we see it now happening. There were allegations now, even on the Senzo Mewa case, where a witness also said they planted evidence. The people have been named gun dealers, where else there is no proof to that. Now, let's look at the expect evidence. Expect evidence with relating to the Kwazi Ndlovu matter. This is what they say. They say that there is no way that this child was carrying a gun, because right hand and where the weapon fell, how this a child was gunned down. It shows that he was sleeping. He never moved. The only time the hand moved, it's when they were putting the gun in his hand, basically. So now that's planting of evidence, tampering with the crime scene. Look at the Senzo Mewa case. People have tampered with the crime scene. Now, if we are questioning those things, putting the truth, we've been labeled as enemy of the state. We've been labeled as people who are lying. But then now, witnesses are saying that Danzi has taken us through a process where AVL has confirmed Danzi's evidence, where the vehicles that were there, we've shown the vehicles that they have confirmed Danzi's evidence. Now, what then do we see? We see a pattern here in delivering Ndlovu's justice system, because the Ndlovu family needs justice for their son, as well as the Mayor family needs justice for their son. South African also need a proper justice system that will protect us as citizens. Now, we also, as when we're talking like this, we're putting our lives in danger. We become targets. Should anything happen to us, please do not think that it's accident or anything. It will have been people that we're speaking against that will be trying to kill us, basically. That's what it is. So we've accepted that narrative that here in South Africa, when you are fighting for the truth, you are being killed, and you are killed by the police. That's a sad part about it. Now, we appeal to the to all the world leaders, as well as, we don't want to, guys, we can say this thing jokingly, but we don't want to run and go to US and seek asylum, because now we know if we're suspects in South Africa, we're going to be killed. Let's look at this thing. Let's just be first news for sure. Now, we have now the evidence that is coming out now that Advocate Shamila Batoy did not respond to this. Now, if then we fast forward, do you know that it's the same thing that if a General Sibia also, for him to be fired, they need to have an inquiry to remove a deputy national commissioner. Now think, Sibia does not have a case that is open against him. He's got mainly allegations, which are serious allegations, which needs to be investigated. That's one. But then when you look at the other side, you have CBI reports to General Masimol. Then we have Brigadier Gininda. Brigadier Gininda has a lot of cases. Advocate Defu showed us cases that were open. And in fact, Advocate Gininda is also a case that is attending in Randburg that is ongoing. But He reports to the commissioner. The commissioner suspends General Sibia for allegations, but the commissioner does not suspend Brigadier Kininda for all the allegations. The allegations that are gruesome, they come from even his cases that he's been investigating, even the Senzo Mewa case that is here. We're here now because of this mess. Or will it mean that, I don't know, guys, I don't know, but we should not wait for another inquiry that will come. Let's say, God forbid, let's say General Masimula, there's an inquiry against him, and then we hear things that there's evidence that people reported things against Brigadier Kininda, and he acted nothing. Or with the inquiry of General Sibi, and so General Sibi said, no, but I'm being targeted. What if General Masimula is the one that is conflicted in this matter? I have raised these things with him because he could not manage certain things. So I wanted to handle everything. I wanted to take over the national court case because it's under crime detection, so that I can have close look to it, basically. And also, I mean, I'm laughing about it because I'm of the view where I'm feeling that our national commissioner is compromised or is conflicted in resolving the matter of CBI versus General Kinin. Basically, it's the same way with Advocate Shamila Batoy and Advocate Baloy, that Shamila Batoy cannot act anything against Baloy because now I feel that because Baloy has been in NPA for the longest time, he needed information for him so that they can set something up against Advocate Chawuke. So I feel that our justice system, it really needs attention. We need to be firm. We need the truth. We need justice for Kwazi. We need justice for the Mayor family, because what is happening in Kwazi things is what currently is happening in the Mayor case. We have a witness by the name of Kwabin, a second witness of the defense. His life is in danger. The police are intimidating him. These are elements of intimidation. But then what the police are doing, even the judge opened up another inquiry, but he ignores these things, that the tactics that the police are employing are intimidation. Nobody's doing it. The judges is not doing anything about it, as well as the NPA is not doing anything about it. It's the same script that we're seeing now in the Nkabinde Commission. Now then the question is, who is better? Is now is the inquiry of Advocate Chawuke a saver to expose this pattern of things? Because now people are actually just hurtful, basically, about this matter. So now we need justice. We need our justice system to be back. So therefore, we're saying, if people are saying that they're protecting our institution, NGOs, they need to start now protecting, because the Mayor case is a mess. Advocate Shamil Batu cannot say anything because even key witnesses in the Mayor case, you're going to say you did not read the docket. Now go and read the docket of the Mayor case. The same key witnesses are not being called in the case. And when we as South African citizens, we're telling you that the Mayor case is being pushed, those accused persons that are there are being framed. And we've become target. We're being abused. We're being targeted. Our lives are in danger now, because we're speaking the truth. So now, NPA, please, if you are really a person of integrity, you are the person that you're prosecuting without fear or favor, please speak to your DP, Advocate Baloy. I don't know what's going to happen now, because they've already closed the case. Key witnesses have not closed. Eyewitnesses have not been called in the case. How then are we going to get to justice? So the same way that NPA, they use the same case for Warrant Officer Padayachi to evade justice. They selected their own judge. They selected their own magistrate there. They moved the case from its own jurisdiction to a different place. This is what now the Ndlovu family suffered. Now let's look at the same script. This is the same script. The Mayor family, the incident take place in a South Gauteng High Court. What does NPA do? They shift the case from its own jurisdiction. They put it in Pretoria. What do they also do? They bring the judge from retirement to fix the case. So it's the same script, same prosecutors, allegations. It's the same script. Hence, I'm saying that these bad officers are officers that are actually good project managers. They use lessons learned. This example I was showing you, it's an example from the prosecution side. Let's look at the SAPS. Let's look at the crime scene. Allegation that the crime scene was tampered with. Ndlovu was gunned down while he was sleeping, but they ignoring key aspect evidence. Let's look at the Mayor case. The crime scene was tampered with. No evidence, no DNA was found. Even the judge fights with the DNA experts and saying, no, this thing is conclusive. When the DNA expert says, these people, I cannot place them on the crime scene, they were not there. We have an investigating officer that tries to put people there and say 2% chance says these people were there. It's the same script because the same police officers, they copying each other. Anything that is wrong that was successful on the other side, they employ that very wrong strategy to be successful again. This is what we're seeing on the Senzo Mewa case. Good people, South Africans, every time when we record, our lives are in danger. We are being targeted. We are being cyberbullied by people who are saying that we are in the pockets of the drug dealers. All we want the truth. I thank you.